Just as way of a quick sponsorship disclaimer, you'll never see a sponsored dedicated video on this channel for a game that's broken, or for a game that we absolutely hate, so you can kind of rule those two things out straight away. Hi guys, welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, I was really intrigued when I saw PASCAL'S WAGER pop up on the eShop, and I'm talking about the game and not the philosophical argument that posits that human beings wager their lives that God exists, or doesn't. I'm talking about PASCAL'S WAGER the game that is a Souls-like and features a fully narrated cast as well as strong storyline. Now, thanks to the developers for sponsoring this one and asking us to talk to you about it. As always, we do not score sponsored content. This is just information about the game, but what I will say is I am legitimately enjoying it, so it makes it a hell of a lot easier. PASCAL'S WAGER on the Nintendo Switch, what's it all about? Well, let's find out. Unlike many Souls games, there's quite a clear storyline here. Well, when I say clear, I mean there is a storyline. You play as Terence, who is referred to in the world as the Lord Courier. He travels around in this carriage, and he's on a quest to find his wife. Now, we're unsure at the beginning exactly what's happened to her, but he's clearly haunted by her absence. On his quest, he's joined by Viola and Glen. Now, Glen is this creature, and Viola is a bit of a badass femme fatale.
I've already lost track of time in this endless darkness.
Aside from Terence's motivations, there's a parallel narrative which initially starts with you trying to battle against the Holy Father, who has sickeningly forced women to give birth to his children and then sent his minions out to kill all of the men that come across this place. It's a very adult storyline, obviously, but it's also quite twisted. Definitely not one for the kids.
Please don't hurt them.
I thought it was really interesting that the game actually has a number of playable characters, and depending on who you have, you can actually switch between them. If one of them falls, then the other one rises up and can often redeem the death that you've just suffered. You won't find bonfires here, but you will find altars. These slightly disturbing points allow you to save your game, but they're also where you upgrade your character, and this can be done with collected bone fragments from the enemies that you've killed. The leveling happens on a number of fronts. Firstly, you've got your standard leveling, which involves increasing your statistics in a number of different areas, and then you've got your skill-based leveling, which is split into 4 distinct categories. These might improve your base moves, and are divided into alchemy, special, sanity, and attack. I really like this. I thought it was very cool. It means you can almost create a specific character class, and that's important because you don't get to choose your character. You don't get to create a character per se. You control the ones within the game, but each character within the game has their own skill trees, and also as they level up, each character gets their own skill points, which is a blessed relief. There's nothing worse than when you get 1 point to spend between everyone. Here, regardless, and even when new ones are introduced, it backdates all of the points that you've earned, which is good. Now, before we dive a bit more into the gameplay and combat, I want to just talk about that carriage area. Now, this is interesting. You travel around with your companions in this, but it's from here that you can also level up your character if you want. You can have conversation and dialogue with the other people you've met, and you can plan out your route on this large world map. It was a surprisingly unique touch, and it worked really well. Controlling your characters is quite standard, but they do tend to move at a slightly arduous pace. There's a light and heavy attack, and a lock-on mechanic. The unique system here, when you're going about your business of defeating the evil minions, is the Sanity System. Now, there have been a few games that have used the Sanity System, and it works reasonably well here. You can craft potions which help you to restore your sanity, but with each encounter with these monstrosities, your sanity is lowered down. If it drops low enough, then you enter this feverish, troubled state, and that affects the amount of damage that other enemies will do and their aggressiveness. But when you're in a boss fight, if your sanity reaches 0, then it completely changes the moveset of the boss. It turns them into an absolute beast. So I think it's designed as essentially a second stage to the combat, but it is nice that they've integrated that mechanic in there. All of the playable characters have their own distinct movesets. This can mean 2 light attacks and 1 heavy can create a charge-in strike, and new ones can be added through leveling up. And it's through learning the specific skills of all 5 of the playable characters that I found the most enjoyment, but also it's by far and away one of the most unique aspects. One of the characters you get earlier on, Norwood, has only 1 arm and he carries a coffin on his back. His punches are reasonably weak, but through punching he actually builds up the ability to swing that coffin and it's completely devastating. It applies huge levels of stagger and also comes with a shielding effect. Pascal's Wager does feature some side questing. These are usually quite off the wall, such as discovering a poor soul trapped inside an egg.
I'm trapped in this egg. Help! Help!
And whether or not you decide to help them, well, it's entirely up to you. But should you do so, you'll be suitably rewarded. I'm always a big fan of those quests that aren't shoved down your throat, but also they feel like chance encounters, like you could have completely ignored them or avoided them, or never seen them at all. It's a nice technique, we've seen it used well before, and it's good here. The environments themselves are reasonably intricate. There are overlapping pathways, and some that will be unlocked only once you've progressed in a certain avenue, and there's smart placement of shortcuts for areas that were previously difficult to reach. As is standard, when you rest up, you will restore all of your health, but it will also restore any enemies that were defeated, at least the vast majority of them. You'll find a decent amount of lore in this world and collectible items, as well as some good environmental storytelling. Now, not only do you get the base game, but you also get the Tides of Oblivion DLC, which adds an entire new campaign, including a new character. It's set on this grim-looking island, which is set miles out into the ocean. You'll be invited there by the swordman Geralt, and from there you'll be able to play as him as the new character. It's a very large new area for you to explore, and it's actually bigger than the entirety of the base game. There are loads of new monsters, some of them very difficult, and it also includes new trophies. Now, I haven't mentioned it, but the base game includes trophies as well, if that's something you enjoy, and there's a real variety of tasks which enable you to get them all. Surprisingly, the whole game runs on the Unity engine. I think the character designs are particularly good, and the environments themselves are suitably interesting. Now, as far as the pricing goes, well, it's £17.99 or your regional equivalent, and as mentioned, includes everything the base game had, as well as some new costumes and that expansion DLC. Now, if you're moving at a leisurely pace, you're looking at around about 20 hours of content, and you'll find a few different costumes that you can use on those playable characters. The developers have also fought for those players that don't particularly like the difficulty level of Souls games by adding in a optional casual mode. If you'd rather just play through to enjoy the game without having that extra stress of challenge, then that's there for you. Absolutely no judgment from me. The whole experience clocks in at 4 GB. As I said at the start, this is a sponsored video, so it's not a review, but as I also said, I'm quite happy for you to hear that I enjoy the game because I enjoy the game. I think it's very fun, but we wouldn't tie a score to that for a sponsored video. It's just, you don't do it. If you have any questions and you'd like to hit me up in the comments, then do so and I'll try and answer them. But it's certainly worth adding to your wish list or picking up if you're a fan of this type of game. And by all accounts, the developers have no intention of just abandoning it. They've been working on it constantly since it launched, and I'm really excited to see what they do next. A big thanks to those guys for sponsoring this one, and as always, to all of you that enjoy the content, that enjoy the channel, and hopefully that just get on with the no nonsense approach. And thanks to our patrons, and remember, if you want to save 10% on any of your eShop games, just use code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch Up. Cheers guys, see ya!